Welcome back to another video um, of me making a game in Unity and using C Sharp. This is a game about village and the last building up a village. In our last episode, I went through and changed a bunch of the code to kind of make it more condensed and more reusable. And what I also did off screen, so it was kind of a long video, and some of it wasn't really me talking about it completely, but in this video we're going to start adding the stats, saving the stats of the villagers. And let me just go in and show you what some things I've changed. One thing I did was in my save manager, we now have an event, and so when we actually save it, I was doing all of this over and over again, finding all the game objects and then individually saving their stuff. But now I just have one function, and when this is called, all of the, let's take a look at the build. All of the all of these, when it starts, it adds the save data function to this event right here. So now anything that has anything that adds their save data to this event will all get called as well. So that kind of makes it a little bit easier. And also in our save data, this is where we're adding the building data to the list. So that's one thing I changed. I also in the save load manager, actually my save all data, I am saving now the villager, but I'm only saving the location. And I'm also saving this new building called store building. So previously, uh, the storehouse would be a building, and then it would also have the store object action as part of it. But what I did instead was I changed it to storage building, which inherits the building class. And what this does is it has, for the storage data, it's having a list of resources and a list of resource amounts. And it's going to save that. And how it saves, what it's actually saving is it's getting remember the store object has a list or a dictionary of the different resources and how much it has of each resource. And so I'm taking this dictionary from the component of a store object, and I loop through that dictionary and I set each of these lists of our store data, and then I get the object building prefab uh, ID. Yep, that's right. Um, and then I'm adding it to a storage list instead of adding it to a building list. It's adding to a storage list. Probably down the road, this will become an abstract class, so nothing will have a building class on its own, but we'll have like a storage building, a farm building, and so on for all the different types of buildings. But for now, we're still just saving those buildings as well. Okay. Yeah, in the last episode, I changed a lot of how it references the prefabs. It uses a string now. How it creates a building, it just creates a game object. Um, so that's all there. I'm not sure if I did this in the previous building, but the blueprints also get saved, and they hmm they're not saving their. Well, I did save it. How did I save it? I go to my load and save manager. Oh, they're getting saved because I think they're a building. That's why they're getting saved. So all the blueprints are being saved because they're also buildings. We do have, see, we're using the build data. Now, I guess I don't have it where it's saving um, the resources yet. I did it for the storage building, but I don't have it for this. And this is going to work very similar to the storage building. Let's go here, paste that in, and then we need this. We are going to, in this episode, add saving the stats for the character. And this is going to be blueprint. Blueprint. And I think that's all we need to do. And then it should be saving the resources there. All right, so that's all done. Let's go to our character stats. And let's think about how we're going to save it. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. Let's go to our character stat. Now we could do on here, I save data. Yes, no, maybe so. All right, yeah. We're gonna get kind of slick with this. Let's do that. Now this one, and we want to do a new public character stat data class. That's not a all right. Character class stat data. This will not call on the save when on the on save event from the save load manager. It won't call it. It won't add it to that thing because what we'll do is when we save our villager, when we save this, we're going to call it. So we're going to have a in our class, our villager data, we're going to have a character stat data. All right, we'll do that. And this needs to be a new one. So we're going to get, we're going to have this, and then before we add this villager, we're going to say character stat data. Oh, we don't have it. It's villager data dot character. This needs to be public. Dot save data. Why can't I do that? It's new character stat data. Okay, let's go to our character stats up here. We're going to say public character stat data. Character stat data. I'm going to do a lowercase c. And this is going to be a new one. All right, now let's go to our village controller. So this will equal our character stat dot character stat data. Mm-hmm. And villager data dot character stat data dot. Nope. We want to say save character stat data dot save. No, not data. Char character stats dot. Alright, I'm getting confused. Just the character stats dot save data. Oh boy. And let's put it just before this. So this save data will store the character stat data, and then we're going to add it to this data here. And then when we add the villager, when we add it to the list, it will have this added to it. So in our character stat, I hope that kind of makes sense. Character stat has a save and load, it has a character stat data, and we're going to save it. Now this stat data does not need to use the base stat data because the base stat data is just for game objects, and this is not a game object. All right, so this is going to get a little tricky. What we need is a list of all of our stats. This might be an int. We're going to call it stats because remember we can't save dictionaries, and we're going to have a list of ints, actually floats, and this will be the stat base and a list of floats stat modified. Whoops. And this should be, and these should all be public. And then we need to do, let's just look at our stats. What all do we have? If I go to the stat, we have modified, we have the decrease rate. Now we could maybe have a save function in here, but we'll just have the character stat save all the stats. So we have all of these basically we need to do. So I'm just going to copy these. Hold on. Let's think about this a little bit. Maybe we do have a data here. See, this is already data. I don't know why I can't just save it. Let's try it. I think that's what we're going to need to do. Let's just try it. So instead of, I don't know if it can actually save just a stat. Let's go to save data. We're going to say character stat data dot. All right, we need to do a for each key pair key value pair of a, let's see, I think it's called a stat dot let's see right here, stat type stat, and we're going to call it stat, and we're going to in our stats and stats. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just we want to just say dot stats dot add, and we just want to add the stat dot value because we don't really need the type. Okay, so that's that. Let's save this for now and go back to our village controller. So save load manager instance, save all data, add. So this should do all that, right? Well, let's try it out. Let's go to here. At least I think it should do everything. Let me save it. Okay, we got null reference. Shouldn't be public character stat. What is null? For each save data, add stat dot value. Oh, this is null right here. We're going to find out if it can even save this. Not implemented execution. Okay, let's see what that is. Let's get rid of this. Save. Save it. It said save map. We did not get an error. Now let's see if what all it saved. Let's go to our save files. Test. Whoa! All right. Look at this. Here's our villager. Here's their location. Here's their stat. They have a stat. It saves all of this, and then does that. Okay. What is the problem though? What can you see as a problem? See anything as a problem? It's saving all the stats. The problem is this does not tell me what stat it is. So let's go back to here. Nowhere in here do I have a stat type on the stat. So public int stat type. All right. Stores the stat type. Stores the stat type. So let me save that. Let me go to my character stats. And when we create all of these, so here, loop through all the stat types and add it to the list of stats. So that's what that's doing. And then what we want to do is actually, maybe in our public, let's just try this. Public stat. So when we create a new stat, we want to send it the type. So we want to say int stat type. We say this dot stat type is equal to stat type. Sorry, this what is it? This dot stat type is equal to stat type. Look, let me type that correctly. Stat type type. Okay. So this will, when we create it, we have to send it for each stat type. So we're adding this. Now we want to see if we can get the int value of it. Okay. So let me save it. Go back. Play it. Save it. All right, let's just save it. Okay, we have something invalid. Invalid operation stat cannot be serialized because it does not have a... okay. We don't want that. So that's the thing with XML, is that it has to have a construct that's empty. Let's see if this satisfies the XML. All right, save. Okay, it saved it. Now let's open up that file. And so now we have, this is 0. So that would be the first one. 1 and 2 and 3. So now we're saving all of our stats. Now, how do we load them all? That's the question. Let me go back to here. Let's go to our character stat. So now we got to think about loading the data. Okay, so we're going to loop through our data, and we're going to for each stat, and this is really cool that it works, stat in character stat data dot stats. So we're going to say stats stat dot stat type then we need to convert it to a stat type. So it finds that stat and it's going to equal this stat. Easy peasy. So in our village controller, we want to say character stats dot load data. All right. And then in our where we're actually loading the villager right here. See, we have to first create the villager. That's what we have to do because we can't just load every object because there won't be any. We can't just call that. So after we load it, we kind of do what we do with the storage object. It creates it and then it gets a reference to it, which in this case it gets the last one that was just created, and then it gets the storage data and then loads it. Um, it sets the storage data first. So really what we could do is temp storage. I want to just do this storage building, storage building, just so that we don't call it more than one time, is equal to this. And then we can just say storage building. First it sets the data to the current data it's looking at, and then it loads that data. Because this data is looping through that list of datas, and then it's going to send it, it's going to add it to it. We didn't do it for the other ones because we really didn't need to. There's no extra data that needed. In the create blueprint, it just gets this data from here. So here we kind of want to do kind of the same thing. So game object temp villager is equal to map manager instance dot all villagers map manager dot instance dot all villagers dot count -1. This gets the very last one. And let's just say village controller. Village controller that. And then we want to say village controller dot temp villager dot villager data is equal to villager data, and then temp villager dot villager data dot load. Why can't I load that? Actually, we do. It's not on the data itself. It's on the controller. All right. Let's see if those are getting set. And how can we test that out? So this is how we're going to test it out. We're going to select one of them, and we're going to wait a little bit and get the health low. So notice the health of Bob is at 95. When we load it, let's pause it for a sec. Let's go here into our save data right here. So this is the first villager. Um, we eventually need to like save the name of the villager, so we might do that as well. Character stat. So our first one's 100. Then it's 96. And it's 91. And it's 91. So basically all the hundreds and the 90s. Hundreds and the 90s. So let's load it. Hundreds and 90s. I'm going to have to quickly like select him. All right, we got an error. Okay, null reference. Let's see. Arguments out of range. Huh. That's... Let's just delete this. Maybe I had that error before. Try this again. Load. Okay, pause. Let me switch that to Betty. We're going to try loading it again from here. See if this... We want the health to get a little bit lower. We just want different numbers and see if our numbers can... Alright, let's load it here. Man, it's really hard to tell. Actually, why is it Betty? Oh, I know why. When it creates the villager, it creates the name, and it's gonna be Betty, like 2, because there's already 2. We'll have to fix that later. When it's naming them, the way I was naming them was just adding a number to it. So Bob is 100 health. Let's load. I see that they're both the same. All right, well, let's do this. So both at 95. Let me save it again. Play and load. Yeah, it's not working right. Let's go to this. Character stats for each stat and all right. I think this is the problem. Let's go to our loading. So here we've set the village data, right? But we did not set the character data. And it should be able to get from here, right? So now let's see if that works. Push play. Okay, so they're at 100. Let's load. They're still at 100. Okay. Let me save it. Pause it. Let me look in the test again. Just make sure. Yep, 97. This is 58. This is also 97. So, all right. Let's see. That's saving correctly. for stat is stat type is equal to stat. Let's just debug.log. Here, we're looping through it. Let's do this. Debug.log stat.get base value, base number. And let's also say stat type. Let's just debug that, see if we can just see it in the inspector that actually has it. Let me load, let me pause. All right, it didn't call it, I guess. Loading the map. Debug.log character data loading. Make sure we're calling it. Load. Okay, we are loading it. So which means this is empty. Let's go back to our load, save and load. Villager and the stats. Character stats load. We are calling this. Wait, it's going to this because we got this debug, but then it's saying there's nothing in the character stats. Let me go back to the villager data equals villager data. Villager character stat data is equal to villager data dot character stat data. Let's do a debug.log villager data dot character stat data dot stats dot count to see if we have stats. Load, pause, it's showing 4. It says we got 4. Temp villager data dot character data is equal to this. All right, let's do this. Temp dot villager. Temp villager. So now we're going to say villager stat count. Let's see if that kind of helps us a little bit. I think we're on the right track. We're definitely saving it. It's just a matter of loading it into the right spot. So even this says there's 4. The stat count is 4. temp villager load data. Let's go to this definition. And then we're going to do character stats load data. We know we're going to it because I get this debug, but then I don't get this. Let's see, for each stat in character stat data dot stats. This makes no sense. All right, let's debug dot log character stat data dot count. Let's see if we get at this point. Oops. Dot stats dot count. And we're going to do another little my stat count. All right, let's save it. Let me load. My stat count is 0. Isn't that weird? So here it's 4, then here it's 0. Let me go to this, make sure I... no. Um, load data, save all data. I'm just trying to think. I hope it's not an issue with when this is being created, when the character stat thing is being created. But still, no, that doesn't make sense. Let me go here. Temp villager dot village character data is equal to, and we have this. The character stat data. We get the count. We have it. We're going to the load data on the temp villager. The temp villager is the new one that was just created, right? Temp villager. Temp villager is all villagers. Count -1. It has it. It calls it. See, this all happens. Should be all happening at the same time, right? Because it creates it. It's already created it. It's saying the village data. Has no problem with that. All villagers, last one. That's not the prefab. Debug temp villager dot name. Just want to make sure it's the clone. Let me load it. Yep, it is the clone. Why does the count change? Temp villager load data goes here. Only thing I can think of. Only thing I can think of. Let me go with my character stats. It loops through the character stat. Is that somehow this gets cleared? Because it hasn't created it yet, but how can I set it if it hasn't been created? Does not make sense. What am I getting wrong here? Because go back to here. You can see here I've added this, and I can get the count. The count is 4 here, but then when I go to load it, it resets it. I'm just going to village. Let's see, where can I put this? Go to my UI. Let's just say villager stat text dot text plus equals to, really we need a /n, and do plus, I don't even think I have the villager selected. Villager dot character stats dot character data dot stats dot count. Now we're going to see if we have the count. Let's load it. Select. Well, it's showing that it has 0. So somewhere, somehow this is not I might test this. I don't know if this works, but let me go with my save all data. Actually, my here. Well, I never loaded the data. Try that again. Right, actually, load. Yeah, it's still 0. What if I've never really done this before. Invoke. How can you do that? Just say 2. Oh, I have to give it a string. That's dumb. Can't do that. Or maybe we can do temp villager dot invoke, and we want to invoke the load data. Okay, so it waits a 2 seconds before it really loads the data. My stats is 0. Way to not do it. Alrighty. See, I think the issue is, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that, okay, it adds this, but it wasn't done processing, actually creating the, it still doesn't make sense to me. Where, find all references. Just debug, temp. Go to definition. So here, that's equal to a new list. Character data. Oh man, this is like, why? Character stats, character data, dot stats, dot count. Debug. I want to see kind of where does it lose it. We're going to say villager load data and do a plus. Where does it lose all of it? All right, let me get rid of that invoke. My save load. Let's just load the data. All right, so it's 0 here. Creates a new villager. The temp villager, villager data is this. We know we're getting the clone. We have this stat count, villager data. Well, this is saying the villager data, but then we say the character stat data, and this is showing here that we have a count of 4. But then as soon as we're out of this for each, it gets redone. All right, well, let me just pause in this video. I think I'm going to have to probably mess around with it and probably off screen I'll get it figured out. But we at least we know we're saving it, and we are technically loading it. We're just not getting it to the correct stat data. So somehow it's just losing it. It's resetting it somewhere. It could be that it just doesn't make sense. Because it creates it. And it's using it. That's the thing. But somewhere it just removes all the stats. I'm just not sure. Where does it do that? Public character stats. Public character stats. Right here, public character stats. This should have no effect on this. Or does it? Go to definition. Wait, no, that's not what I want. These are the character stats. That has no effect on this right here. This is right here. And I know I have it. I mean, this clearly says, this debug says that I have the villager data and I have the character stats count, and the count is 4. If I go and look at my D-log, character clone, we have 4 right here. This is just the data itself. Character stat count is 4, so this is the temp villager, which is referencing this all villagers. We even know that's the clone because it says it right here, clone. This one we just made. And we have it, but when we load it from here, it loses it. And I don't know how to delay, I don't know how to put it here and then go through it again. Just doesn't make sense. All right, I'm just going to pause it here and think about it, and hopefully the next time I see you, this will be fixed, and we'll move on to the next thing, which might be redoing our AI, because I've been looking into a lot of the goal-oriented action planning for AI, and so we're probably going to be switching over to that type of AI. All right, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.